The Dexcom G6 is a great tool for managing your diabetes, and I think it's extremely easy to use. There are no finger sticks. I'm going to show you just how easy it is to get started with the Dexcom G6 app. Getting started is easy. There are just 3 steps. First, go through the app setup screens. Second, insert your sensor and attach your transmitter. And third, pair your transmitter and start the sensor 2-hour warm-up. First, let's set up the app. Download the Dexcom G6 app. If you have the G5 app installed, delete it before installing the G6 app. Then log in. If you have created an account with Dexcom in the past, use that same username and password. If you have never created an account with Dexcom, create a Dexcom account. The app walks you through the entire setup process step by step. The first few screens provide information and videos. Watch these videos and read the information screens. You will come to a screen where you need to set your low alert. I decide to set my alert to 85. That way I have time to react before my glucose gets too low. Tap Save to set your low alert. Now set your high alert. I set my high alert to 240. You should work with your healthcare professional to determine which low and high alerts would be best for you. The next few screens walk you through connecting your transmitter to your smart device. Your transmitter and smart device connect using Bluetooth. The app automatically checks to see if your Bluetooth is on. Next, you need to enter your transmitter serial number. The serial number is on the back of your transmitter box. Next, I need to enter a sensor code. My sensor code is on the sensor applicator. That's it for app setup. Now you'll need to insert your sensor and attach your transmitter. To insert your sensor, first choose a place on your abdomen. If you are under 18, you have the option to place it on your upper buttocks as well. Choose a site at least 3 inches away from your insulin pump infusion set or injection site. Avoid bony areas like ribs and hip bones and areas with scarring, tattoos, hair, or irritation. First, wash and dry your hands. Clean your skin with rubbing alcohol and let it dry. Grab the sensor you used during setup and remove both labels. Do not touch adhesive. Place the applicator on skin. Remove the safety guard. Fold and break it off. Press the button to insert sensor. Remove the applicator. You've successfully inserted your sensor. You'll wear each sensor for 10 days. Now it's time to attach your transmitter. Take your transmitter out of the box. Clean your transmitter with an alcohol wipe and let it dry. Insert the tab of the transmitter into the slot on the transmitter holder. Snap the transmitter firmly into place. Rub around the patch 3 times. You've successfully attached your transmitter. You'll reuse the same transmitter for 3 months. Once your transmitter is attached, you can swim, bathe, and shower like normal. Now it is time to pair your transmitter and start your sensor. Wait for your transmitter to pair. Then tap the Start Sensor button. Now your sensor warm-up has begun. The warm-up will take 2 hours to complete. You will not receive alerts or readings during this 2-hour sensor warm-up. After your 2-hour warm-up, you get your first sensor glucose reading. See that number in the gray circle? That's an example of a sensor glucose in target range. It updates every 5 minutes. Over time, your graph fills in. When you go below your low alert setting, the app alerts you and the circle turns red. When you go above your high alert setting, the app alerts you and the circle turns yellow. The urgent low soon alert will alert you when your glucose is falling fast and you will be at 55 in less than 20 minutes. This gives you time to take action to prevent a low. This is your urgent low alarm. This alarm will alert if you go below 55. You cannot change, turn off, or silence this alarm. Your glucose is always changing. This is why the trend arrow is important. It shows where your glucose is heading and how fast it's moving. Arrows help you avoid being low or high by taking action before you are already too low or too high. I've been wearing my Dexcom G6 for a little while now, and I'm about to travel for work. I want to set up Dexcom Share so my husband can follow me while I'm traveling. It gives me peace of mind while sleeping in my hotel room to know my husband will get alerted if I go low. Dexcom Share is a feature of the Dexcom G6 app. This is how it works. Your Dexcom G6 app sends your glucose information to the cloud via Wi-Fi or your mobile connection. Then the cloud sends your Dexcom information to your followers. In this video, I'm going to show you how to set up Dexcom Share and how your followers will set up the Dexcom Follow app. To set up Dexcom Share and Follow, first set up Share on your G6 app and invite a follower. Second, the follower accepts the invitation email and sets up the Dexcom Follow app. To set up Dexcom Share, simply press the Share icon on the Dexcom G6 home screen and follow the instructions. The app will walk you through information screens and inviting followers. Add a follower by entering their email address. Then, choosing follower settings, first choose if you want your follower to see your trend graph. Then choose which notifications you want them to receive. I'm going to leave urgent low on and then change my low to 65 because I usually start to feel low around 65. I set my low alert higher so I should catch my low before I hit 65. Then review your invitation and send it. This will trigger an email that is sent to your follower. My husband just received an email from me. This email gives him two options: to download the app from your app store or start following. He already downloaded the app, so he'll click Start Following. The invitation takes him into the app. In the Dexcom Follow app, he can go through any information screens and accept the invitation. He accepts the invitation and starts following me. He can now see my glucose information. He automatically gets the settings I set for him, but he can go into settings and change them at any time. This only changes his settings. It does not impact the alerts I get on my app. Tap Settings, then tap Edit, and change notifications as needed. For example, if he wants to be notified when I'm over 300, he can set a high notification. The only thing the follower can't change is whether they see the sharer's trend graph. I set the app so he can see my trend graph, but if I did not, he could not turn that on. And that is how you set up Dexcom Share and Follow. It really offers me peace of mind to know my husband will be following me while I travel. In this video, I'm going to show you how to use the Dexcom Clarity app. I downloaded the Clarity app from my app store, and because I'm already logged into my Dexcom G6 app, Clarity automatically logs me in. If I didn't have the Dexcom G6 app, I would just log into Clarity with my regular Dexcom account information. Okay, let's show you around the app. This is where I can accept Clarity sharing invitations from my clinic during my next appointment. This way, my data is linked to their Clarity account and will already be there during my next visit. The summary page shows me how often I'm in my target range for the dates I choose. It shows my average glucose, my glucose patterns, and if I want to view my data in different ways, I do that from the reports page. I just select the date range I want, which type of report I want, and then I get a PDF that I can print, save, or email. Here I can control notifications or emails. So that's it. That's how you use the Dexcom Clarity app.
Hi, everybody. Thank you to Endocrine Society for having us. I'm Cher Pastori, and I'm joined by my colleague, Deborah Greenwood, and we're from Dexcom. We're on the clinical education team. And prior to joining Dexcom, I was a clinician in private practice as a registered dietitian and certified diabetes educator. And Deb is a nurse by training and has a PhD and has spent many years doing research. And we're so happy that she's now on our team. And we're thrilled to be talking to you today about the Dexcom G6 and its many products. So Deb will be fielding the questions, and I think with that, we'll take the first question. So go ahead, Deb.
Great, thanks. Happy to be here. So your first question is, what are the latest updates in the G6 app?
All right, so there are a lot of updates. So the first one is, I'm not sure if you already know, but the G6 integrates with Siri. So first you can say, Siri, what is my number? And you can actually customize whatever you want it to say. Do you want it to say, what's my sugar? What's my glucose? What's my reading? So you can ask Siri for your reading. Secondly, we have an update in the G6 app now that you can directly get to Clarity. Clarity is our software. And in the past, you would have to download G6 app separately and the Clarity app, and then you would have to log in separately to Clarity. Now you don't have to do that anymore. We also have some updates on the Apple 4 watch. There are some new complications, new faces. We also have, we're integrated with Google Fit if you have an Android phone. And let me think, what else do we have? So in Clarity, we have removed the 3-hour time delay. I'm not sure if you knew, but in the past, there was a 3-hour delay between what the user would see and what the clinician would see. That's now gone, and it can be as little as 5 minutes, so it's much more in real time. And we have more updates coming, and we're always changing and iterating, and those are the biggest. We actually have a new patch. We have a new patch that's a lot more sticky, and I think that's all I can think of for now.
Great, Cher. And so the next question I have for you is, how do you close alerts on the Dexcom G6 app?
Okay, great. So this is a great time to talk about alerts and alarms. So in the past, some people would say maybe there was such thing as alert fatigue, but the reality is, as a clinician, if you can instruct your patients how to set actionable alerts, this really mitigates anything that has to do with alert fatigue. So basically, when we talk about alerts and alarms and setting alerts and alarms, what we want is, we say that we want the alert to be actionable and we want it to be customizable. And so essentially, we have some data that shows about 50% get their alerts set the first time, set by their clinicians, and they don't change. And then 50% approximately customize them. So if you learn and understand about the alerts, you as a clinician have a lot of room there to guide and help talk to your patients about how to set these alerts and alarms. So what am I talking about? Basically, if a patient just comes in and they're brand new, right, newly diagnosed, and their A1C is very high, you probably wouldn't turn on the high alert to begin with, right? You would just turn on the low. We would want to see if we could prevent any hypoglycemia and maybe not have them worry about getting a high, just because we know they're probably going to be a little high in the beginning. And then you bring them in, 1 week, 2 weeks later, and you can start putting on different alerts and alarms if you want to. And then as they improve and their glucose ranges get tighter and tighter, then you narrow down those ranges. So that's what we talk about in terms of customizable and actionable, right? We don't want them having an alert turned on that they're not going to do anything with. In addition, on the G6, we have an urgent low soon feature. And so what this feature does is it's a predictive alert. This wasn't available on any previous generation that we had. So this alert advances the warning in time as if the person is going to be at or below 55 within 20 minutes, they will receive an urgent low soon alert. And essentially, for you as a clinician, what I would like you to know are a few things. Firstly, in 85% of the time that this alert went off, the patient was at or below 70. So we know that this alert works. We also know that we have data that shows that over 90% of the people that wear our sensor are keeping this alert on. You do have the ability to turn it off if you want to, but we know that people like this alert, they're benefiting from it, and they're keeping it on. And so what it means is as they can get alerted and make a treatment decision, therefore they're not digging out of a hypoglycemic event, they're preventing an event. And so back to the first question, which was, how do we close an alert? Basically, if an alert pops up on the phone, you just have to acknowledge it. So you just touch your home screen, you might have to open your lock screen, and then it will just go away. If the user doesn't engage at all and doesn't touch their home screen, the alert will continue to go off every 5 minutes until it's acknowledged.
Great, thanks, Cher. I'm going to combine two questions now for you. The first one is, can you adjust who and what notifications each follower gets? And also, if you're using a receiver, can you still set up a follower?
So you can only set up follow on a smart device, and you can customize the notifications for sure. I think there's just 2 notifications that aren't customizable, but you definitely can customize what the user can say what they want the follower to see, what they don't want. And so you can have the user can have up to 10 followers now, in case that was another question, we just answered that one. And there's also something in the Follow app now, it's a night mode. We had gotten a lot of requests from parents that were kind of asking, is there something we could do, because they wanted it to be. So we developed the night mode, and we do know that the followers and the sharers wanted things to be customizable, so we have that available, yes.
Okay, great, thanks. And what happens if someone loses their sensor code? What can they do?
Okay, so essentially, our sensors are factory calibrated. So with each sensor, there comes a 4-digit code, and when the person opens their new sensor, so every time the sensor gets changed every 10 days. So every time they open a new sensor, they have to enter this sensor code into the app or the receiver. And essentially, this is what allows the system to operate in a non-calibrated fashion. So if the sensor code is lost, basically, and or if the patient forgot to put it in or something happened, the system would need to be calibrated. So it wouldn't operate in a no calibration fashion. And so if they lose the sensor code, what they need to do is take 2 calibrations right after the 2-hour warm-up, and then they would need to calibrate one again in 12 hours, again 12 hours after that, and then they would have to calibrate once every 24 hours. So basically, our system is designed to have no calibrations. It's factory calibrated. It's designed to work with the sensor code, and if that is lost, it will still work. It would just operate in the calibration fashion.
Great, thank you. A question about how now the G6 mobile app is now linked to Dexcom Clarity. So does that mean that the patient does not need to download the separate Clarity app?
So they still need to download the separate app, but a couple things. First and foremost, when you have the G6 app and then when you have the Clarity app, it is the same username and password. So I don't want them setting up all separate accounts. And the same thing goes when you instruct them on your side for Clarity. If they have a different accounts, it kind of messes everything up. So it's always the same username and password. And we still do have the Clarity app separately, but they don't need to go in there separately. They can get there right from the G6, but the person is still downloading 2 separate apps at this point.
Okay, now someone wants to know if you can provide any updates on the G6 Pro for healthcare providers.
Oh, yes. What kind of updates do you want? So basically, let me tell you about the G6 Pro. So the G6 Pro it's in a limited launch right now, and it's going to be widely available on July 6th. And essentially, the G6 Pro is a fully disposable system. It's 10-day wear, and the system can be used in either blinded or unblinded mode. So if you want to, say your patient is just new, or you don't feel as though they might be ready for to see the numbers, and you just want the data, you just want to get the information yourself, or for whatever reason you would want them to just be in a blinded fashion, you just put them on. So essentially they come in to the office. You could also probably do it remote, and you just put the sensor on, and then they're there for 10 days, and then they come back and you upload the data to Clarity. If you want them to use it unblinded, meaning they would be able to see the readings on their smart device, so they would have to have a compatible smart device, and we have that information available on our website, dexcom.com/compatibility. So every product that we're compatible with is there. And so if you want them to be in the unblinded mode, it's just like maybe one more step. You just have to set it up, and essentially then the patient can see the data on their phone. And you, if you add them to your Clarity Clinic, if during this 10-day professional sensor wear, you want to see their data, you could also log into Clarity on your end and you can see their data. And if you don't want to do that, you just bring them back at the end of 10 days and then you look at the data together. Now, further, this professional transmitter can hold the data for up to 30 days. We really, it will end after 10 days, but you have anywhere between 10 to 30 days to get that information back so you can see that and then review that with your patient. But Deb, before I go on, do you have anything you want to add about the Dexcom G6 Pro? Because I feel like you've done like a lot of slides on it lately or research. Did I miss anything?
Yeah, I'm so excited about the G6 Pro because of the unblinded mode. And so that people that are using it can actually learn day to day what's happening in their body and how their different activity and food is responding, as opposed to having to wait to come back and have their data downloaded. And I think the other thing that's really exciting is they get the trend arrows. So they can be learning what the different arrows mean. And they can learn about the ability to make treatment decisions if that's part of the education plan prior when they're getting the G6 Pro instructions. So I think it gives them the full, almost the full G6 experience because they also have they can set the low alert and the high alert. So it's a great opportunity for people who might be interested in CGM but are a little unsure. But honestly, I think the G6 Pro is good for any person with diabetes because there's such good coverage and anyone, whether they have type 1, type 2, whether they're on insulin or not, can use the G6 Pro.
Oh, well, wait, I have one more thing to say about that. So not only is the G6 Pro covered for type 1 and type 2, but it's also covered for non-diabetes. So if there was like a hypoglycemic event or they had, reactive hypoglycemia, some other non-diabetes related thing, of course, individual coverage would always be up to the insurance company. So you could have some kind of workflow in your clinic that would make sure the procedure itself would be covered. But the Dexcom G6 Pro is approved for non-diabetic services also.
Great. Okay. We have a question about the Clarity Clinic. How do I add patients to my Clarity Clinic?
Okay. So this is what I really want you to know and learn because it saves so much time if you, instead of having the long share code, if you start to add patients to your clinic. We also have detailed instructions about how to do it, but essentially it is not hard. So you and your clinic need to just have a clinic account. Then it takes about 3 minutes. You just click on add patient. You send them an email. The email generates a code. They accept the code and accept consent to share data. And once that happens, that's it. They're added. And so you could see them at any time you wanted to. So there's no more uploading, downloading. They don't need to worry about a share code. You don't need to remember where you put this. So even if you're like, oh, that sounded like too many steps, don't worry about that because so when I was in practice, I just had everybody added to my clinic and once you get it down, it probably takes, I don't know, it might be 3 minutes. And so you add them and then that's it. Then you don't have to do that anymore. And you could see the information at any time. So I would have, a lot of times, just say maybe on Fridays, I would do calls. So I would look at Clarity data or if patient would call and say, I made this change or this is what's happening to my numbers, what can I do? I would look at the data in the clinic. I would set up, a 15-minute phone call, which you're able to bill for. And then basically you could conduct a visit that way and you can get into a workflow, if you want to just do calls or things like this on Fridays for an hour or once a week or once a month, up to you. And it's a great way to be able to see the data.
Great. The next question is about a transmitter. How often do patients need to switch their transmitters?
So the transmitter lasts for 3 months. Right now, the G6 transmitter lasts for 3 months. So the sensor is a 10-day wear, fully disposable. That gets taken off like a Band-Aid at the end of the 10 days. It just gets disposed. And the transmitter is reusable and it lasts for 3 months. And just so you know, in practice, when I was in practice, I would always have to say, please remember to not throw out the transmitter, right? Because you take off the sensor and the transmitter is still attached to it. So you have to unattach the transmitter. It's really easy. They just have to remember to do it. And then you throw out the sensor and you keep the transmitter. And it lasts for 3 months. And it lets you know, like in the Clarity app, it tells you, when you started it, when it's going to expire, then it gives you some warnings. And the same thing, we do have now a 24-hour sensor expiration warning or alert on the G6, which we didn't have before either.
Great. And I'll answer this quick question. Just a reminder, the question was about the transmitter for the G6 Pro, and that transmitter is fully disposable. So there is no reusing of that transmitter. Okay, the next question for you, Cher, is what is the MARD of the G6?
Okay. So the Dexcom G6 is the MARD is 9%, and this is 9% with no calibrations. So on our G5, we had a 9% MARD also. That was with 2 calibrations, and now we have the same 9% MARD with no calibrations, and it's across all glucose ranges and rates of change.
Okay. Now here's a question about connectivity. So what insulin pumps does the G6 connect to?
So right now, we're currently connected with the Tandem. We have Tandem Control IQ. We are in partnership with Omnipod Horizon, but it's not available yet on the market. It's in pivotal trials. And we are connected with the companion InPen, which is a smart pen. So you can see the Clarity data overlaid with the InPen data. But Tandem Control IQ is our big pump integration.
Okay, here's now a practical question. What advice can you give to ensure that the sensor adhesive stays on for the full 10 days?
Okay, so as I did mention, we do now have a new patch. So it really, I just wore it. It really is a lot more sticky. But if that doesn't happen, the steps are first, essentially make sure the skin is clean and dry to start with. Then secondly, you use an alcohol wipe and let the area dry fully before applying the sensor. And then once the sensor is on, you just press down lightly to, adhere to it, the skin. And then once you insert the sensor with an easy one button press insertion, after that, you just take your finger and you rub around the adhesive patch. Do that, instruct your patient to do that 3 times, and then you apply the transmitter. Then I would say instruct your patient just to not do anything else if they don't see anything happening, but if in a few days they see the adhesive is coming up a little bit, they can do a few more things. So we have these overlay patches that are available. They're sent with the G6, and then they're also, if you just call our Dexcom line, you'll be able to also get the sense, you'll be able to get more of the overlay patch. If that doesn't work, say, maybe they're very heavy, like they're in marathon training or swimming daily, they're doing triathlons, maybe we need some extra things. You could also then just apply something like an IV 3000 or Tegaderm. There's also something called like pump heels, and they, these companies have kind of made like these cute little patches, and we know a lot of kids put them on, and they're kind of like customizable, and they really like that, and it kind of sets them apart.
Great. I think one last question maybe we can take here is, can you share the billing code for the 15-minute phone appointment that you mentioned?
Yeah, so it's just a data interpretation code. So it would be a 95251 would be your data interpretation code for that.
Great. And your last question was thank you.
Thank you so much. Deb and I just wanted to say thank you. We're so glad to be here today. And of course, if you have any more questions answered, anything you need to know, just visit our website at dexcom.com.